Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 fine silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Welcome to episode 14 of Marshall Sylver Live. And I just have one question today. My question is to the haters, actually, that said that we weren't actually going to give away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars upon this show. Yesterday, if you were tuned in to our live show, as we're live about 2 hours a day, although sometimes it's a little less, only because I'm on stage as well over the last 4 days. If you were with us yesterday, though, and you watched the show at all, you know that yesterday somebody guessed the secret word of the day, and Emily Malish won $13,500 on Marshall Sylver Live. Now, that's just not any money. That's my money. $13,500 for what? For simply knowing the secret word of the day that's every single day held inside of an envelope that I keep right here on my desk, getting ready for you to mutter that word. She won it. Emily Malish, congratulations. And to all the haters who suggested, and I saw you, I know who you are, to all the haters that suggested that I would never give the cash away, the word was too hard, and even though we had $500 to it every single day, they're probably never going to guess it. She guessed it. The word was claustrophobic, and she guessed it. So all I want to say to all you haters, how would you like me to serve your crow? That's all I want to know. I love my life. Yes, we give away a lot of cash, and now we've started giving away cash on this show. I anticipate it's probably going to be like the dam bursting. What a lot of people don't know is this is not my first time doing this show. 10 years ago, 11 years now, I was doing a show exactly like this show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, totally live. That's what makes us different is we're totally live. And when you're live, stuff can happen. Yesterday, my wife was watching the show, and she saw the winner she saw someone say the word. Then she saw me tear open the envelope and show that indeed she had said the correct word. My wife messaged me, and I thought this was funny. She said, "You didn't look very happy that she said the secret word and won the cash." I said, "No, I wasn't unhappy. I was just shocked." I was literally just in a bit of shock that she had said the word because, number one, she didn't guess the word while we were conversing. Just as an offhanded remark, I said, "Hey, by the way, before I let you go, do you have a guess?" And she said, "Yes, this is my guess." And she was spot on. So I wasn't unhappy. I was just shocked. Okay, maybe there was a little piece of me that realized that, yes, now I'm going to have to fork over that cash that eventually I was going to have to fork over. So, you know what I say? Fork it. Yes, just fork it. Fork it over. So today we reset the meter. And I told you in the last few days, last few broadcasts, I was going to start doing this a little bit differently. So we're a brand new show. This is episode number 14. We've got a great guest, by the way, so stay where you are. Got a phenomenal guest that's very near and dear to my heart, which you'll find out why in a moment. In the previous show, though, I gave away over $350,000 in cash prizes on a daily basis. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to reset the clock to $1,000. And if nobody wins the $1,000 today, tomorrow it'll be $1,500. And then every day we're live, it'll add an additional $500 until, just like Emily Malish, somebody wins the cash, baby. So, yeah, we're the real deal here. And you should tell your friends. Not only should you tell your friends because the show has phenomenal content, lots of great stuff going on. Not only do we give away thousands of dollars in cash, we also every single day, guaranteed every single day, we give away 10 ounces of Marshall Sylver Pure Silver, Marshall Sylver Pure Silver. And you can win the Pure Silver simply by calling in with an interesting question. And if your question is voted the most interesting question of the day, then you will win 10 ounces of pure Marshall Sylver Silver. So we just gave away $13,500 in cash yesterday. Up for grabs, cash up for grabs again today. But this is also today, since this is episode number 14, it will be 150 ounces, because I gave away some before we actually launched, of pure Marshall Sylver Silver. This is nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, take a look at that bar in the corner there. This is nothing to sneeze at. These are beautifully minted 10-ounce bars of silver. Not only are they collector's items, because you can't get them anywhere else unless you win them, they also today have a spot value of $300. So I don't know about you, listening to a show that makes my life better, gets me more sex, money, and power, and also gives away guaranteed 10 ounces of pure silver every day and thousands of dollars in cash up for grabs. It's something to pay attention to. The question, though, becomes, what's the highest and best use of your time? This morning, I woke up early. I am at my palace in Las Vegas. My beautiful bride and family, they're still at the beach house. I was alone. I wasn't lonely, but I was alone. And my morning ritual is I go into my jacuzzi, into my spa. Then I go into the cold plunge. Then I go into the sauna. Then go back into the cold plunge. And I come back. And this morning, when I walked into the studio where I'm set up here for this broadcast, which is actually the theater of Prosperity Palace, it was freezing. I mean, it was just freezing in here. And I was already warmed up from the spa and the sauna. Yes, I thought I had normalized back in the plunge, except my body, for whatever reason, just started shaking when I came in here. And I'm not sure whether it was excitement. I'm not sure whether it was just the cold, but I was shaking. And at any rate, life is good. I'm going to give you some clues, just like I did yesterday during the first hour while I'm interviewing our guest. And then in the second part of our program, which today will be about 90 minutes, I've got to get back on stage again here for First Million Irresistible Influence going on live in Las Vegas. During the first part of the show, I'm going to give you clues, just like I did yesterday. Emily heard the clues yesterday. She heard me mention a couple of times that I felt a little cramped, which was a lie. It was a clue. And then I said, little teeny tiny, squeeze down tight. A little bit later, yeah, those are the kinds of clues that I give. So I'm going to give clues during our time together. And then, because the second hour is only going to be a half hour today, I'll condense it down and make sure you get massive value. Your life is going to change. Stay tuned. More importantly, tell your friends too, because not only can somebody in the chat ask me to hypnotize me wife. She no work. She lazy. Yes, I understand. I absolutely understand that. If I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me to hypnotize their wife, guess what? I'd be rich. Oh, never mind. I am. The reason I'm rich is that I answer a question, very powerful, simple question, but very powerful, multiple times a day. And here's the question. I want you to write it down. What is the highest and best use of my time? What is the highest and best use of my time? You see, time's the great equalizer. Every single one of us has the exact same amount of seconds in any given day. People that are highly successful utilize that time better than other people. People that are massively financially successful recognize that time is indeed money, and they find all sorts of ways to make sure that their time is invested well. One of the things that I do to make sure that my time is invested well is that for the last, 20 years, maybe longer than that, actually, maybe 25 at this point, I have at the best that I can resisted flying commercial flights. Every once in a while, I have to jump on a commercial flight because it's maybe international or the option of flying privately is just ridiculous for the task at hand. For the most part, though, for the last 20 plus years, I've only been flying privately. There are some services that allow people that don't own their own jets to also fly privately. And before I introduce our guest, Mike Howard, Mike is in that business of helping people understand how they can fly privately for substantially less than owning your own private jet. And I don't recommend that you own your own private jet unless you're making $100 million a year or more, only because there's a lot of expenses involved, not just the cost of the plane, not just the cost of the fuel, not just the cost of the maintenance, insurance, pilots, everything. It's a big expense, except it's worth it. Before I introduce our guest, let me give you an example. In San Diego, I live in a little town called Carlsbad. It is halfway between Orange County, John Wayne Airport, and San Diego International Airport down in San Diego. If I need to fly somewhere and I get in my car, I've got to make sure I take into consideration there might be traffic. If there's traffic, I go down, I get in the car, and I allow 90 minutes to get to the airport. Because it's a commercial airport, when I get to the airport, I park my car in long-term parking, which means I've got to park the car, jump on a shuttle, and when I jump on the shuttle, I have to head over to the airport. That's an extra 30 minutes. When I get to the airport, I have to allot for another 90 minutes there. Why? Because I've got to get through TSA. And to get through TSA, I've got to take off my shoes. If I'm drinking water, I got to either drink it or I've got to throw the water into a bin with a bunch of other bottles just like this, because the TSA tells me this might be a bomb. And I'm thinking, if this might be a bomb and you make me drink it, number one, wouldn't that make me the bomb? Which I am, by the way. Not only if I don't drink it, though, I throw this into a bin with other bottles just like this. I'm no expert on explosives, but if this might be a bomb and you throw it in a container with a whole bunch of other bombs, that might not be a good idea. When you land, you've got to land, wait for everybody else to get off the plane. You get over to a baggage claim, and you won't see a single bag on that baggage carousel until all of them have been unloaded from the plane, which means you're probably going to spend, another at least 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes waiting for your bag, schlepping through the airport, getting to the curb to get in your transportation if it's there at the curb. 4 hours one way, 8 hours round trip. It's enough to make a man want to shave his head. There are 5,000 approximately private airports in the United States, places where private jets come and go. My home in Carlsbad is exactly 11 minutes with traffic away from a local private airport. When I get in my car, I drive to the airport. I don't park in long-term parking. I don't park at all. I pull right up to the jet. I get out of the car. I get on the plane. I'm never late because the plane waits for me. When I get on the plane, my favorite beverage, depending on time of day, is placed in my hand. It's never crowded because I don't allow it to be. There's nobody on the flight that I don't want to have there. And I take off. They park my car. I take off. When I land, rinse and repeat. My transportation pulls up to the jet. I don't wait for anybody else to get off. The bags are instantaneously loaded into the car. It saves me 8 hours of time round trip, not to mention the fact that it's just fun. It's nice. So to that end, I highly recommend that you fly privately. Now, I'll tell you this, though. I want to warn you up front. You fly with me privately once, you'll like it. You fly with me twice, you'll like it a lot. You fly privately 3 times, and you will be ruined for life. If you would like to be ruined for life, then please type into the chat wherever you're enjoying this show from. live, baby. Type into the chat, ruin me, please, because it'll ruin you. If you have kids, multiply that by the number of kids you have, and the satisfaction is amazing. The gentleman I'm about to introduce to you is not only a phenomenal human being, he is also somebody who has had massive success as an entrepreneur. Mike Howard is both an entrepreneur, a speaker, and this is my favorite part, like myself, he is a family man. He's the founder and CEO of Guaranteed CS Incorporated and Jetsetter Jet Charter Service down in El Cajon, California. Aside from scaling both companies to 7 figures in less than 2 years, Mike's helped 50-plus individuals get started on their own entrepreneurial journey. Please give a big Marshall Sylver Live welcome to Mike Howard, the founder of an amazing company called Jetsetter Charter Service. Mike Howard, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thank you. Thank you for that intro. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Are you in San Diego?
Yes, I am.
Lovely. So I'm in Vegas right now, but as I mentioned, we have a house down in Carlsbad as well.
Yeah, it's just listening to the story of the lead up of the introduction. I was just laughing because I don't even think you know this story, and I know we'll probably jump into it. But when I started Jetsetter, you were our first client.
I thought so.
Yeah, the very first client. Craziness.
Yeah, it is crazy. I thought so. I recognized the company and I recognized the name, and I said, we've flown with you, and I knew that it was right when the company had started, and you guys gave remarkable service. So thank you so much, and I'm really glad to have you here.
No, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, launching a charter jet service, that's a big deal, man. So first of all, how old are you?
I'll be 36 this month.
Well, dude, forgive me. You look like you're 23.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you look great, dude. You look really good.
I appreciate it.
And how old is Jetsetter?
5 years. So we're in our 5th year right now. Yep.
You know, because we fly a lot and we charter a lot of flights, I see a lot of charter companies come and go. Yeah, so anybody that lasted is doing something right. You also have another company. So let's talk about the other company, then Jetsetter. What is Guaranteed CS Inc.?
So funny story is my business partner is my stepdad, the first one who reached out to you, who actually did Turning Point over 20 years ago. So even funnier backstory of that. But Guaranteed CS was something we just started. The CS didn't stand for anything, but I was working in the gym industry for 8 years, and I wanted to start a company. And I'm like, you know what? I see all these gyms and everyone needs a cleaning company. So let's do Guaranteed Cleaning Services. And then randomly I had someone reach out and said, hey, do you know anyone who does stucco? I do. So I went to Guaranteed Construction Services and then Guaranteed Consulting Services. So the CS was always just up in the air and versatile to use however we wanted. That's kind of how that started. And then Guaranteed CS with the cleaning services was the first real company that we really took off and ran with the CS part of it right before Jetsetter.
I remember your pops contacting me repeatedly to say, hey, come check out our service.
Yeah, I think it was 2019. We started doing LinkedIn targeting, and he was reaching out, and then you connected us with Anthony, and then we did that first trip, and here we are 5 years later.
Well, awesome, man. Congrats on your success. Tell me about that, because again, I know that the charter service, there's a service when I'm flying a mission that's me and the family, and it's not between Vegas and San Diego. We just charter a plane. We get bids and would find the best deal and the best equipment. When I'm flying by myself, I still do not like flying commercially. And there was a service that was flying Southern Cal. I think they went to Utah and a bunch of locations, and they just went out of business.
They did, yeah.
And I know you know the company I'm talking about SetJet.
I do, yeah.
And I'm disappointed, but I'll tell you, I told my wife, because we flew with them a lot, I said, I have no idea how they'll stay in business. I said, I know the math. And with what they're charging, and as many times as we jumped on the plane and there were no other people on the plane, I said, they can't sustain this. I said, and unfortunately, the service was so good at the price, I didn't want to tell anybody about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, I think, was their downfall.
And I think there's probably different things behind the scenes of what went down, but I think the main thing is a lot of people, when they do fly private, they like to fly on their own time. They're buying back their time. With that company, it was set times of when you're going from here, and everyone had to be on the same schedule to get on that jet. And trying to get a bunch of people who are trying to buy back their time all on the same schedule is a pretty hard thing to do. Because I know towards the end of that run with them, there were people telling me they were on their jets with one or two other people on there. And when you're flying a big jet like that, the fuel and everything, getting from point A to point B, and there's only two people on that paying the price that they did, it's not covering that overhead.
No, they're flying Challenger 850s,
Yeah.
and I cannot tell you the number of times that it was just myself and my family.
Wow.
And I've got there's five of us, and there's nobody else on the plane. And I said, at $750 a seat, I said, there's no way they're making money. They've got to be losing. And I said, I pray they stay in business, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So tell me a little more about your service. Tell me, explain to people that might not know, how private jet charter works and how your service works.
So I hate to compare it to Uber, but I tell everyone it's the Uber for rich people. So if you have somewhere you want to be at a certain time, and say you're stuck somewhere commercially, we have the ability to dive into our network and get you a jet from point A to point B in as little as 3 hours. So if you're stuck in Vegas and your plane just got canceled, it's 9 p.m. at night. It might be tough to get a plane out there at midnight or a crew available at midnight, but we've done it. It's possible. So like I say, if you're looking to go on a vacation, or you're looking to go on a business meeting, or you're looking to go just out of town, you call us. What we do is we work with all of our salespeople, go into our network, we dive in, and instead of we'll use you as an example. Say you live in Carlsbad and you're there all the time. You reach out to the local person who's at Carlsbad who has a jet. Their jet might not be available that day. Well, when you call us, we can find out and pinpoint every single jet that's going to be there that day, that's going to your destination. So instead of providing that one quote of the jet who's local, I can provide you 10 to 15 different aircraft, maybe even at a better price than what you would be paying for that local person. And especially on one-way trips too. If you're trying to get from point A to point B, that's when we can look into empty legs. We can look into direct pricing on direct routing and stuff like that, and kind of win business there.
Explain to people what an open leg is.
So an empty leg is, say Marshall has to be in Vegas today. Mm-hmm. We fly him to Vegas, but he's using a plane out of San Diego. That plane has to come back. Marshall already paid for everything to get it there. That plane that's coming back empty, it's coming back regardless. It's empty. What we do is we could sell that empty leg of someone who's going from Vegas back to San Diego at a much better price than what you would be paying if you were to vice versa do it the other way.
Good. What kind of people fly privately? I think a lot of people have the misconception that it's just ultra rich, except obviously with everything that's gone down in the world and all of the pain in the butt that commercial airports are, TSA, and all the just absolute nightmare that process is, more and more people are flying privately. So how have you seen your business change as far as your customers concerned over the last few years?
So it was funny. We started right before COVID. So right before COVID, I always told people it's the 2 to 5% of the people in the world who have the ability to fly private, because the 1% own their jet. So that was always like that's who flies with us. But then once COVID hit, it kind of 10x'd our business, because you had people who've never flown private before. And then all of a sudden they're scared. They're scared they're going to die if they sit next to someone on a commercial plane, and they have that money. They pay for it the first time. And like you mentioned, it'll ruin your life. you want to fly private every time. And it's kind of like the first time if you've never flown private, but you've flown first class, the first time you get that taste of it, you never want to go back to the back of the plane. You want to find a way to get to the front of the plane. And then once you fly private, you want to find a way to fly private every time.
What do you tell me about your business? What's the hardest part about your business?
I would say probably finding that ideal customer. I mean, we've gone through marketing. I have my original marketing employee who's been with me since day one, but finding like a third party to really dive in. Everyone, hey, I can find you every single client. I can find you this person. It's really just putting yourself in the position of the flyer and getting in front of them. You can't just send out an email and expect a multimillionaire to reach out and say, oh man, let me give you my business. So I think really just me being out there and the rest of the company getting out there and getting in rooms with people like you. A lot of speakers like to fly. I'd say 50% of the speakers like to fly. 50% of them say they fly and just take pictures in front of jets. But going to events and going backstage and just introducing yourself. But yeah, I'd say definitely finding the ideal customer has been one of the most challenging parts early on. We've kind of nailed it down to the T now of what we're looking for and who we're looking for and how we're looking for them and getting in front of them.
I always kid with my wife, she'll say, hey, let's go to Fiji or let's go over to Europe or let's go do something like that. And while I really like Fiji and I love Europe, the first thought I have in my brain, the very first thing I think of is I've got to go fly commercially just because it's so far and, it's just us and a charter down to Bali is going to cost me $250,000 or more because it's a long range piece of equipment. We just went to Alaska and we went up for our 17th anniversary to see the Northern Lights.
Nice.
And I took a look at what the charter was. We were only going to be in Fairbanks for like 3.5 days. And I said, I don't want a charter. It's just going to be a lot of money. We're only there 3.5 days. Maybe I'll just suck it up and I will, we'll book some first class seats and we'll do it that way. And I was not looking forward to it. So we booked first class seats on Alaska Airways, and 5 days prior to our flight, they canceled the flight because they had a challenge with the side of the plane flying off. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
Yeah. So they grounded all of their planes and they canceled the flight. They offered to put us on another airline, except I told my wife, I said, this is a sign from God. This is God telling me you're not supposed to fly commercially. So we chartered a plane. So we go up to Alaska, we charter the plane, we fly into the private airport, the FBO, and then we go to get a rental car. And because it's kind of landlocked there, rental cars are a premium, and the people that were renting out the car, at least at the counter that I was at Avis, they were jackasses. And they gave me all sorts of grief. They were trying to charge us for an upgraded vehicle and then give us a lower grade vehicle. And I said, this is not what we paid for. We paid for an Escalade, and you're trying to give me a 4Runner. That doesn't make any sense, and you're going to charge me the same price. Well, they're so nasty. I said, you know what? That's not fair. I don't want to do this. And then I found out there were no other cars. And I attempted to book another car, and they said, no, we're not going to rent you a car now. You denied us, so we're not going to rent you a car. So now I'm stuck with no car. But here's the good news. I go back to the FBO, and we're stuck with no car. And it's just a different class of people. We go back to the FBO, and the woman said, hey, welcome to Alaska. I will ride with my son during the time that you're here in his vehicle. You can borrow my personal car.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. But again, it just says something. People say flying privately is expensive. And I say to them, won't it be great when it's not? And then the thing is, you won't get to the point where it's not expensive until you start reclaiming your time. And when you reclaim your time, then it's not expensive anymore. And it's not even a luxury. It's how it is. So tell me, you've in your bio, it talks about the fact that you've also helped a lot of other entrepreneurs, certainly by example. But I also know that you also have helped other entrepreneurs launch their companies and build their companies. Tell me more about that portion of what you do.
So when we started the cleaning company, I documented everything, put together a blueprint. I worked with a mentor then, Kevin Nations. I'm not sure if you know Kevin.
Yeah, I know Kevin well. He's a great guy.
Great guy. So we had a lot of blueprint of how we did the service industry. And I said, you know what? I have some friends who are in service industry working for people. And I'm like, man, let me run a little test run on this and see, hey, would you want to start a little side hustle of your own? Doing the same thing, will not have it interfere, and just follow this blueprint. And first person, it worked. And he's like, dude, I'm making more money this first month on the side hustle than I am at my real job. He ended up quitting 3 months later, and it took off. And then it just slowly went word of mouth to different people. And it's like, hey, can you work with me? Can you work with me? Hey, I want to do this. I have this idea. And just slowly I won't take on more than I can bite, but it's been so rewarding seeing and being able to help other people. And that's kind of why I started the cleaning company as well. When I worked in the gym industry, we had a cleaning lady who was working full time, making minimum wage, driving from El Cajon to Carmel Valley at that Crunch Fitness. And I'm just like, man. So when I first started that cleaning company, she was my first hire. She got a $5 per hour raise. She was getting full time. It was just like, how can I help someone get in the position? And I feel like it's our duty. Once you accomplish something and you see someone who's struggling to get to that barrier or get to that achievement, it's your duty to help them because someone helped you at some point. So now you got to go back and help someone else.
Yeah, I would agree. In fact, that's what this whole broadcast is about. It's all about laying down examples like yourself for people that are struggling and they're frustrated and they're afraid and they don't know whether or not they'll make it. And so they're just saying, gosh, show me some examples of some other people that have made it. Tell me about some of the innovations that you have utilized to grow your business. Your dad, I don't know if you know what he did to get me to utilize you guys. He dripped on me for a while. He was very relentless in the emails and the, hard mail. And in fact, I think I even got some like promotional items from you. Were you guys sending out iPads?
No, we sent you out that mahogany box with the metal jet card in it that had your name on it.
Yep.
And then some other swag with it as well. But we're not really changing the game plan for anything. It's just really delivering a great service and reaching out to the right people. And then afterwards, finding out what went right. Sometimes stuff does go wrong. I mean, you've been flying private long enough to know that a mechanical happens here and there on an aircraft. But what do you do in that moment of a mechanical that separates you from other companies? Are you providing another plane for them at no cost? Are you up, even if you're taking a loss at that point? Are you making sure you're doing the communication part of it, not just saying, hey, your plane broke down. Good luck. We can't help you. It's like, hey, no, I have the whole team on this. It's all hands on deck. I'll have a plane to you within the next hour, or I'll have a plane that's going to be there at the time of your departure, what was scheduled. It's a better plane. We're taking a $3,000 loss on this. We're putting you in the air. That's how we do things around here. And it's really just providing that. And I love sending out gifts to clients. We started doing that in year 2. And custom gifts, find out what these people like. And like I have a golfer out in Florida, great golfer. But I'm like, what do you buy someone who's rich and has everything that they can buy for themselves? So I got on the horn. I called his I talked to him. I said, hey, where do you golf again? He told me. So I called the golf course and I said, hey, who's this coach? They got me on the phone with this coach. I said, well, hey, what does he need in his bag? They're like, well, he doesn't really hit irons anymore. He needs this and this. I said, get that, put it in his bag, invoice me. I think we're at 23 referrals in 3 years from this guy. It's the little things on the back.
And it's not little things, because obviously I've been flying for so long. Yes, stuff comes up. In fact, more often than people would imagine, stuff comes up. I had chartered a flight to Necker Island, Sir Richard Branson's private island. Mm-hmm. And I was very excited. I was taking my mom for her 80th birthday. We were going to get on a large plane. We were going to take a Gulfstream down. And the morning we were supposed to depart, the company that was providing the plane told me the plane was grounded, that a bird had flown into the engine and had crashed, landed. They couldn't fly the plane. And they went to substitute the plane for something else that was substantially less. And I said, I understand we want to get there and we'll fly on the lesser plane, although I'm not really happy. What are you going to do for the price? And they said, we can't really do anything for the price. And I'm thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Of course you can. You don't have the same expenses. Of course you can. And a company that had already received well over $1 million worth of my business, just because they decided to, squeeze me a little bit there, I said, we're done. And that's the other side of the coin that a lot of people don't realize, is that in your business, you're dealing with wealthy people, and wealthy people, frankly, we expect to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
And there's another company that I got stuck in back east, got stuck in Atlanta, and I was with a charter company, and they had equipment challenges, and I called up the charter company and they wouldn't work with me. They said, we can get you a plane by tomorrow. I said, my family doesn't want to sit here overnight. I've got things I got to get back to. And I called up the owner of the plane that I was on. I happen to know who the owner of the plane was. I called him up and I said, I've been flying you for a while, and I like your plane, and you guys have always taken care of me, but your charter company's doing this right now. And he dropped an F-bomb. He said, I'll be right back to you. Hung up the phone. A second later, he called me back. He said, Marshall, we have a different plane for you. It is there on the tarmac. They're going to take an hour to get it juiced up and ready and get the pilots there. He said, but you'll be back home. It's going to cost me money, but it's on me.
That's amazing. See, that's how it should be.
Yeah. So I had a thought, and my thought was, because I love flying privately, and I know how many people I've ruined that way. I joked with somebody one day, and I said, I think I'm going to start an airline called Crack Airline. And my buddy looked at me, and he paused for a second, and then he got it. And I said, if I had a charter company, what I would do is I would find people that were well-to-do, that were target-rich environment, that were woods and could afford to and might want to, but hadn't necessarily flown. And I would give them their first private flight for free. I would take them on a short hop, Vegas to San Diego or somewhere in Cali or vice versa. I'd take them on a short hop and I would just give it to them for free. And I said, guaranteed, you do that for a target-rich qualified prospect, that's the only way they'll fly from that point forward. So
I like that.
Tell me, obviously you how many employees do you have in your company now?
So there's 6 of us in Jetsetter that we're running.
Lovely. Obviously, running any company and leading people has there's a lot of weight to that and a lot that is required of that. Tell me some insights on how you've grown your company as a leader and what other leaders can take away from, obviously you excelling and thriving at a time when a lot of other well-established businesses, well-funded businesses are going out of business. So how do you think your leadership style is different and effective where some aren't?
I think it's just more being able to adapt to situations. So starting a company thinking it's going amazing, and then boom, we went into a world pandemic. A lot of people either went this way or they went that way. We luckily went this way. We adapted, we figured it out. And it's just trusting the people you have with you who are in the company doing their job and not just stepping on their toes, making sure things are going right. You have to trust people. And that was what I didn't really take into consideration at the beginning of the cleaning company. And I'm like, man, you got to do this. You got to do this. No, you're doing this wrong. Trust them. This is why you hired them. Trust them. So with the jet company, it's really just letting people create and do their own thing while they're doing the task at hand. But it's let the leash off. Let them do their thing. Let them go. Course correct as we go. But it's really just adapting and letting people have that trust with those people.
What do you think? Where are we going with more and more people recognizing what a nightmare commercial air travel has become? More and more people. When I started flying privately, and I would go speak on a stage, and I would show, I just flew in on this piece of equipment. Here's a shot of me getting off the plane for this trip. It was unique. There weren't that many people flying privately, certainly not a lot of speakers. But as you also said, now it's almost expected. And if you're not flying privately as a speaker, people are kind of looking at you and saying, how good could you be? Yeah. What do you think is the future of flights and travel? And do you think that you mentioned the Uber of flights? Obviously, Uber itself has attempted to do something similar. I know that they had launched Uber helicopters a while back. I don't know that worked out or that is still in business. What's the future?
Well, as far as the Uber part of it, I think we've seen over the years, and we talked about it earlier in this, certain companies doing flights like this and adding a per seat model. JetSuite X is the only one who's really doing that correctly right now. And I think they're in between, they're semi-private, they're in between commercial and private, they're doing the right thing. But as far as I think the future holds, different type of people are getting a taste of private. So it's just opening the range. They're manufacturing more jets, which is awesome because we saw an influx of different people flying during COVID with still the limited amount of jets that we had. So you ran into not having a client issue, you ran into not having a jet issue for all these clients. So now they're manufacturing more, but we're seeing a lot more speakers that we were talking about that are starting to fly. We ran a small little pilot with Ryan Stewman years ago, back in 2018, 2019 or 2020. He said he's like, I'm going down to Cabo. I'm bringing all my group. We're doing a mastermind, this and this. I said, you know what? Let's get a Gulfstream. We'll get you, Amy, cameraman. We'll have 12 other seats open. Sell those seats for whatever price you want. It's going to cover the jet. Not only are these people going to get an experience of a lifetime, they're going to get all the videography on there. They're going to mastermind on a jet to and from, then get the mastermind. It's just the experience that's created around this package. So we started reaching out to multiple speakers saying, hey, how would you like to do your next event on a private jet for free? So we're doing bigger events like that. I think the last one we ran was Thrive with Cole Hatter, which was amazing. That's a great family right there. Shout out to Cole Hatter and his family. But just reaching out to different people, providing a service of, hey, you might not be able to afford it by yourself, but how can we get you to afford it with a group, whether it's speaking engagements or having a friend or just having your own type of mastermind with people in your local area going to a different destination.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me, what do you think is the strength that you have that's just allowed you to launch multiple businesses and be extremely successful? And what do you think are your weaknesses? What are the things that other people have to cover for you?
Weaknesses for sure is I'm a hothead sometimes. I'll be the first to say it. I'm a hothead sometimes. I just get so into the moment that I just have to take a step back and say, hey, chill out. Like, stop, breathe, go. But as far as strengths, it's really just being able to adapt to every situation, especially as much of a hothead as I am sometimes. It's like, if something hits the fan, I know that I'm going to be there and I'm going to be able to give my 100% and maneuver through whatever the obstacle is and get us to the solution.
Where do you suppose, we mentioned speakers, is there a business type? If it's speakers, is there a business type that makes up the majority of the type of clientele you have?
I would say no. I mean, it's pretty 20%, 20%, whether it's a speaker, athletes, C-level executives, business owners, or people who just got rich off of getting rich back in their old. I have a lot of old flyers. I would say probably 30 to 40% of our 220 active flyers are 80 years old and older. Sorry if I'm offended you by saying that's old, but that's old to me.
I'm not 80, so no.
Not you. I meant the people who are listening. If anyone's listening who's over 80, that's old to me.
Yeah, it just made me feel really good. So thank you for making my day. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would agree that, again, I think as we mature, certainly me, as we mature, we keep coming back to that idea that time is the asset.
Yes.
And anything that's wasting our time, like walking through an airport or dealing with that nonsense, it's just, I don't want to do it anymore. My family is flying out from San Diego. And like I said, normally because it's not a business trip and it's a short hop, we'd been using that particular service. And the reason we'd been using SetJet is SetJet allowed us to bring our birds. We have 4 little teeny tiny parrots. They're called parrotlets. They're the size of a parakeet. They're tiny. But there's other services. I know you're probably aware of JSX and what they do. And JSX won't allow us to bring the birds. They allow people to bring dogs. They allow people to bring, 25-pound dogs, but they won't allow us to bring these 3-ounce birds. And it's a funny thing. And so, as my family comes out on this particular trip, they're going to fly out on JSX just because they're only here for 2 days to be with me. But the bird's going to have to stay there. So, there's so many elements that go into why people want to fly privately that there's just no comparison. So when you start line iteming and saying, is this really worth the extra money? It is. It's not just the time that you save. It's how you show up, the condition you show up in. It's the joy that you have on the plane. It's the fact that if you're flying privately, everybody on the plane, for the most part, are going to be people. They're going to be your friends. They're going to be your business associates. They're going to be people that you can interact with and actually profit from while you're flying. So what do you think is the biggest challenge people have in justifying private jet travel to themselves? Obviously, they're saying it costs too much, but
I was going to
again,
say, it's the sticker shock up front, but I don't think they have that mindset that like the time that they're saving, everything that goes into it on the positive aspect. I don't think they have that mindset of I can make this money right back. So I think that's the biggest challenge that they have more. But overall, I think it's the sticker shock that they see when people look at pricing and they're like, oh, $15,000 or $20,000 for this flight. Like, wow.
well, and particularly since the current administration came in, everything boosted overnight.
Yes.
You know, it used to be that I could charter a plane from San Diego to Vegas for, I could get on a little CJ for $5,000, $8,000 one way.
Yep.
And now, as you know, that charter's $12,000 to $15,000 at least.
Yeah, I was just going to say north of 10,000. It's like, wow.
Oh, for sure. No matter what the equipment is these days. So, one of the things that I like checking out is I love understanding how people market. What's your number one marketing? What are a couple of your number one marketing strategies?
So the big hit was the jet cards. When we sent out those jet cards with a personal message to every single person, had it written out, and it's basically I don't think I have one on me. It's inside the house. But it was a metal card that we had. It had your name on it, VIP member sense, a custom note kind of talking about you, saying how we've been following you. And we know we haven't flown with us yet, but consider this a VIP. The amount of hits that we got off that was the ROI was amazing. That's one. And then really just showing up to these events. When I was reaching out to the speakers, whether it was getting invited by a friend or buying a backstage ticket just to get back there and shake that hand and tell that person, hey, I flew out here because I knew you flew here private and I want to earn your business. How do I do that? I'm here in front of you. Tell me where you fly. Just give me an opportunity on the next one. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people think, hey, let me send so-and-so a text message or so-and-so an email that just has our information and hopefully they'll call us. So Paul does a really good job on LinkedIn, reaching out to different people, scraping LinkedIn and just having good conversations. And he's very consistent with it. And you mentioned it earlier, but if you don't read that first message, he's going to reach out again. He's going to hit you by email. He's going to hit you by text. He's going to call you. He's going to get you on the phone. He just wants that opportunity to speak to you one time and get that opportunity to send you a quote at some point and hopefully earn the business and show you what we can do. But I think one of the cool things that we did differently than every other charter company is we don't want jet card money on hand. I think that in my head is a Ponzi scheme because like you said, a lot of these companies have come and gone over the past 5 years. I've seen handful, hundreds come and go. But what they're doing is, hey, Marshall, 250,000 on account. Perfect. Money hits our bank. 3 months later, we're out of business. You're out of money. We don't want any of that. I don't want your money. Put it somewhere else. Put it in the stock market. Put it in Bitcoin. Put it in. I don't care where you put it. It's just not going to sit in our account. Let us work with you on one trip, provide an amazing service where you want to come back to us. You're not contractual to come back to us. You want to come back to us. And then that spits out word of mouth. Hey, I know you fly with so-and-so. And I know you have a jet card with so-and-so. Have you ever given this person an opportunity? You don't have to pay $250,000 up front to get a quote from them. Hey, sometimes the price is going to be a lot cheaper than this because they have access to this, this, and this.
Yeah, I get asked a lot of times. People will contact me because they know that I've been flying for decades privately, and they'll say, who should I work with? And again, as you apologize for calling 80 old, please forgive me in advance for what I'm about to say. I tell them the same thing every single time. They say, what do you think about jet cards? And I say, I think they're a waste of money for the exact reason you said. And if you look at the fine print, you're not getting any better deal. It's just no better deal. And they have your cash. And if they go out of business, there's no apology. You're not getting your money back. And then they say, well, do you work with one company? And I say, absolutely not. If I work with one company, I'm going to pay their price. What I want is somebody going to battle for me. What I want is somebody out there checking out all the providers, all the operators, and find people and have them bid against each other. And the wise charter companies, because on the other side of this, the people that do charter management, like yourself, companies that work with a lot of different owners and operators, the other challenge is obviously you've got to make a living. So you've got to add something for your service on top of that. And some companies that are charter management companies like yourself, they're not fair. And they put literally 20, 30, 40, or sometimes 100% onto the charter to, make their money out of it. And because I've been flying for so long, I'm different than most people. If they tell me this flight's going to be this much from here to there, and they tell me what kind of equipment it is, I can almost tell them 90% of the time, I'll be able to tell them which plane it is, what the tail number is, because I know what planes are where. And so when you start dealing with people that have more experience, it's about relationship. It's about trust.
And I think with companies you see, I talk to multiple people in the industry, other people who have businesses, and you hear them say, hey, man, I had this trip from, we'll just throw it out there, and it's not even San Diego to Vegas.
Yep.
Client, it was 25 grand I charged the client. Like 25 grand, that's for a one-way? And then you start thinking about it, it's like, yeah, I made whatever X amount of dollars on it. Okay, well, our thing is, cool. Well, why don't we do this trip? Put a little bit on it. Perfect. We all make our money. They get a great price, but then they come back. Then they come back again. Then they come back again. And you made X amount of dollars on one flight, but I've done 25 flights with them at this price.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
So you mentioned Paul does a good job. Is Paul your dad?
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
So for whatever it's worth, as we get ready to wrap up the call, and we're about to go to taking your calls, by the way. So if you've been watching the show and you're digging it and you want to reach out, go to studiomoney.info/live guests to get on the air, and we'll chat with you. And like yesterday, we gave away $13,500. Today we reset the clock. We got $1,000 up for grabs. So make sure you get in the queue, because today's queue will be short. Less callers mean you're more likely to win 10 ounces of pure silver, and you could indeed also win $1,000 cash by saying the secret word. Your father works with you. You're a family man. You have kids?
I do.
How many kids?
2 kids. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son.
Congratulations, dude. I was talking to my kids this morning, and I told all of them, I said, you guys, my wife and my children, you have made my life so happy. I've never been happier in my life. This is the most amazing experience I could ever imagine, except a lot of people don't realize if you're flying with children privately, it's a breeze. It's so easy. If you're flying with kids, otherwise, it's just not so much fun. But tell me, tell me about family. Tell me what that means to you.
So it's the main reason I jumped into entrepreneurship. I heard something a long time ago that said, figure out your ideal lifestyle and build your career around that. And I said, well, if I wanted to do this, I got to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Or if I want to do this, I got to work this, and this. And don't get me wrong, I'm working. I haven't had a day off in 5 years, but that doesn't mean I don't have time. So my son's at the age where he's playing baseball now. It's his first year of real baseball, not T-ball. I'm out there coaching. I get that time where I get to go coach because I've created my life around that. So family right now, it's at that age. When kids are small, when they're 1-2 years old, they're there. You're there to take care of them. My son's starting to get a personality now. We're starting to become best friends, and it's a whole different ball game for me now. But to be able to build this lifestyle around family has been like the best thing ever for me. And that's how I see the next 50 years, 60 years.
It's kismet for sure. Hey, the note that I was your first customer ever, that's awesome. You guys provided great service to me. So if you would ever like a testimonial or a video promo to promote what you guys are doing, I am more than happy to support you. I very much appreciate you being a guest on this show. And I wish you guys the best. I look forward to utilizing your company and your services sometime in the very near future.
Sweet, man. Thanks so much, Marshall.
You bet, brother. Keep it up. God bless. Take care, and give your family a hug.
Will do, man. Thank you. You too.
Bye for now. People are good. People are very, very good. You can have it all. You really can. You can have a balanced life. You can have a thriving business. You can have a family that knows you and spends time with you and loves you. And it really is, in what Mike just said, something you hear a lot on this show, figuring out what you love first, then figure out how to monetize it. If you'd like some more insights on how your life could be better, I'd like to be the man that helps you do it. Studiomoney.info/live guests. That's where you go. Why would you go? Number one, I'm going to give you some insight. Number two, I'm also going to put cash up for grabs. Today, we reset the clock because yesterday, Emily Malish won $13,500. Today, reset at $1,000. If nobody wins today, then we'll keep dripping on you, and we will keep adding $500 every single day until somebody wins it. And somebody's going to, because they always do eventually. We're going to take a short break and then come back and start taking your calls right away. Like I said, today I've got to get back on stage at First Million. So we're not going to be able to stick around all the way till the top of the hour. I'm going to be with you for about the next 30 minutes, which means I'll get 2 or 3 of you on the air, which massively increases the likeliness of you winning a 10-ounce bar of pure silver. Plus, when you get on the air with me, if you are a first-time caller, I'm also going to give you 2 tickets to Turning Point, which is my foundational course coming up next week, actually, here in Las Vegas, where you'll not only learn how to reprogram your mind with the thoughts of a millionaire to produce similar results, you'll learn the skills, foundational skills of selling. And the last thing Turning Point is going to do is going to turn up your wantingness. It's going to give you your mojo back, give you your motivation to go out there and slay the world. To give you an idea of what both First Million and Irresistible Influence are all about, take a look at these 2 quick videos. Then we'll jump into the vault and start taking your calls right here on Marshall Sylver Live. See you on the other side. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 fine silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions, how to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Isn't it time for your first million? Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do what you love and learn how to monetize that on a 7-figure level? Do you want to know exactly what you need to do and what not to do to have your biggest year ever? If not now, when? First Million. A 2-day subconscious learning experience that both teaches and programs you with the personality traits and habits of multimillionaires. At First Million, you'll learn how to take almost any wealth vehicle to a 7-figure level or better. You'll learn how to stop using vehicles that don't work, are too difficult, or simply unsuited for you. Making money is supposed to be fun. Stop living your life, getting ready to live your life, and start living a life of adventure. First Million was crafted to not just change what you do, it's also going to change who you are. Instead of trying to become a millionaire, you'll learn that you're already a millionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in your bank account. Beyond mindsets, you'll learn the actual personality traits of multimillionaires, so you'll naturally do what millionaires do to produce a similar result. One of the key personality traits of a millionaire is charisma. Imagine being able to walk into a room and without speaking a word, have the entire room drawn to you. Imagine others hanging on your every word, wanting to be near you, to be in business with you, and hungry to buy whatever you're selling. First Million will teach you how to use the charisma that politicians, entertainers, CEOs, and celebrities use to move nations and make millions. You'll also learn how to get more done in less time. You'll learn priority management and what the highest and best use of your time is. You'll learn laser-like focus upon IGAs, or income-generating activities, and you'll learn to let go of anything below your pay grade. What if you had more customers than you ever imagined? What if they came right to you and fought to buy from you? At First Million, you'll learn attraction marketing and strategies to get others to pay you for your marketing and advertising before they even purchase your offer. When you attend your First Million, you'll begin to see an overwhelming amount of amazing opportunities all around you. You'll look through the matrix and easily identify target-rich environments. You'll learn dovetailing and stacking strategies to acquire more customers and do more business with the customers you already have. Unless something is sold, no money is made. Whether you're a sales pro, a novice, or even scared to death of selling something, your First Million is going to have you fall in love with influence and enjoy it as the game that it is. When you believe in what you're selling, you're obligated to sell it. You'll learn exact language patterns of influence and persuasion. You'll learn how to get others to ask you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. You'll become dynamically able to use arcing statements, direct links, embedded commands, and so much more. An entire tool belt of selling gambits will be yours after you get to your First Million. As a First Million alumni, you will be clear on what you need to do to GTFM, or get the freaking money. You deserve great wealth, and your First Million will help to raise your self-esteem around the topic of money. The amount of money you make will always be determined by your own self-image. You'll learn what billion-dollar corporations already know about outsourcing, how to get anything below your pay grade done for pennies on the dollar. Your First Million will give you the groundwork to understand presentation skills and the highest paid profession on the planet, public speaking. When you graduate from your First Million, you'll be able to create presentations that inspire with confidence and power.
If all that weren't enough, there's so much more. Making your first million is almost certainly going to require that you manage at least a small team. You'll walk out of the course with the knowledge of how to lead teams and synergistically get more done in less time. Technology has made our lives so much easier as we've learned how to harness it. The First Million course will teach you what is up to date and available in technology so that you can use that cutting-edge technology to get more done and have more fun. You'll also learn how to harness the power of the internet for massive passive profits. Every time you attend Your First Million, you'll learn new technology and internet marketing strategies as these two portions of the class change every time you attend. It's like getting a brand new seminar each time you come. If you're a representative, you may attend Your First Million as often as you like, totally free, with your enrollment in the First Million course. If you're not yet a rep, or if you have not yet invested in Your First Million, enroll now. Everything begins in thought, and you know what you want to say. Go ahead, say it now. Say it out loud. I'm ready for my first million.
It's time. It's time for you to win cash, baby. Yesterday, $13,500 for Emily Malish. You could be next. All you got to do is reach out to us at studiomoney.info/live guest, and you'll fill out a form so we know you're a real person, and you'll let us know what your question is so that we know that you're interesting, and we'll go from there. The only way you can potentially win the cash or the silver bar, 10 ounces of Marshall Sylver Pure Silver, is to get on the air with me. We had somebody, we had a few people actually. We had somebody yesterday reach out and they say, I have a question I want to ask you, but I don't want to get on the air. And because of the delicateness of the question they wanted to ask, they didn't want to be exposed. So you've got two options. You certainly can send us an email. If you want to send us an email, all you got to do is send an email to support@certaintyinc.com. And if it's interesting, I may read your question on the air, although you will not be in the running, obviously, for the silver bar. And since you're not live, you can't say the secret word. So I'd get on the air. If you want to get on the air and you got a sensitive question, by all means, what I would recommend is you put a mask on so that we don't know who you are. Ask the question. There's a lot to be said for interaction and my ability to read the tone of your voice and cold read you and know what's really going on. The silver is real silver. It's 10 ounces of pure silver. Spot price right now today, I think, is about $30 an ounce. And so that's about $300 worth of value. I was asked, and I'm going to get to our question here in a moment. I'm going to get to our guest here in a moment. Before I bring our first caller in, I did get a question. And the question that I got on an email from somebody was, I am interested in investing in cryptocurrency. I do not currently have any cryptocurrency and wanted to get your thoughts on what you think I should do with my investment. I don't have a whole lot of money. I've got a little bit saved, and I could put it into real estate or cryptocurrency or the stock market. What's your advice? Not everybody's going to like my advice today, especially. The stock market is no longer about the company alone that you're investing in. Certainly, you can invest in companies that are doing well, will continue to be profitable, like Apple or Amazon, or companies that are stable like that. The stock value, though, is not always determined by the company's value. The stock value is always determined by how many sheep are buying the stock. And I say sheep loosely. I mean, how many people have decided on that given day to invest in that particular stock that'll drive it up? How many people are selling it will drive it down, and so on and so on. The thing about a stock is a stock actually has something behind it. A stock has a company that presumably has some kind of value. So just like in our previous conversation where we were talking to Mike Howard about his company, his company has value. The challenge with a stock is the stock isn't directly related to that company, although if the company flourishes, the stock almost certainly is going to go up. Cryptocurrency is not based on anything. It's a fiat currency at best, just like our own US dollar is a fiat currency. It's got no value that people don't give it. But here's the bigger challenge. Bitcoin as of today is hovering around 67,000 US dollars per coin. 5 years ago, it was down. Gosh, what was it 5 years ago? 5 years ago, it was down around $4,000. Here's the challenge with all cryptocurrency. Number one, they're not tagged to anything. They are only worth what people will invest in them. So supply and demand either drives the price up or makes it drop down. They're not tied to anything. And because they're not tied to anything, they are 100% tied to what the sheep are doing. The challenge is, I don't care who you are. If you're listening to this show, almost certainly, you're not a big sheep. The big sheep are major enterprise investors. They're people like Citibank and Bank of America and BlackRock and all these companies. We've seen Bitcoin in particular and cryptocurrencies in general go through a massive uptick in recent time. And people say, oh yeah, everybody's now jumping on. No, not everybody's jumping on. The market makers are jumping on. And when the market makers jump on and make big purchases, it makes it look like the currency is actually doing well when it's not. Because what happens is those big market makers jump on, and when the market makers buy, the price goes up. As soon as the market makers buy and the price goes up, guess what the market makers do? They sell. So if you're not a market maker, then you're speculating, which is all well and good. You can speculate and probably win if you're smart enough to understand all this process. But there's one more thing, one more consideration if you are considering investing in cryptocurrency, and that is the government. I have a friend of mine, dear friend of mine. His name's Dan Fleischman, highly successful guy, has his fingers in a whole lot of businesses. Many years ago, he launched an online poker site because he likes playing poker. He launched an online poker site. The online poker sites were making money hand over fist, crazy amounts of money, millions of dollars a day in net profits from online gambling. Well, one day my buddy comes to me and he says all the online poker companies are being shut down by the government. And overnight, he saw an enterprise that he had worked his butt off become worth nothing. Cryptocurrency is the same way. People say, well, no, that's why cryptocurrency is good. Well, that's all well and good as long as you're allowed to trade it. But what happened with the poker sites is the poker sites were not allowed to sell to people in the United States. They weren't allowed to do business. You weren't allowed as a citizen to go on their website because you're in the U.S. It was illegal. And it was lobbied by all of the major gambling companies, Caesar's World, Resorts World, all the major gambling companies, MGM. They put those online poker businesses out of business. Why? So that they could launch their own. And since they were the ones paying millions of dollars to the lobbyists, they got their way. So here's my concern about cryptocurrency. My concern about cryptocurrency is that if the government wants to launch their own cryptocurrency, which they do, then all they've got to do to make their currency valuable and all other currencies worthless is to outlaw cryptocurrency in the United States. That's all that's got to happen. Yeah, I don't really gamble anymore. Every once in a while, I like to sit down at a blackjack table for entertainment purposes only, and I'm a really good blackjack player. At the same time, if I lose a little bit, I just walk away. It was an amusement. If I make a little bit, I just walk away. It was an amusement. So many people, though, are putting all their ducks into the pond called cryptocurrency, and usually specifically Bitcoin, that there's going to be a day of reckoning. And my belief is that day is coming sooner than later. And my recommendation, if you're asking me, as this person did in their email, real estate, cryptocurrency, or the stock market, it's an easy decision for me. Real estate. Real estate is a hard asset. It's not going anywhere. It's something that people will want. Cryptocurrency, the stock market as well, they've got their downsides. So enough said. Hey, here we go with caller number one. Catherine, you are live on the air. Welcome home.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
You are very welcome. Where are you calling in from?
From Boston, Massachusetts.
I love Boston, and I love Boston for a very specific reason. That is where I met the love of my life.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I
Yeah,
was doing
Boston's
an
great.
event. I was doing an event on January 27th of 2007, and there were 1,000 people in the room. This is before my semi-retirement. And I was walking down the aisle, and 4 rows back on the center aisle was this most gorgeous woman. And the moment I saw her, I was smitten. And then I qualified my prospect. I said, who here is single and would love to create an awesome, passionate relationship? Put your hand up. She didn't put her hand up. She just looked at me and smiled. And then I said, all right, who here is in a relationship and wants more passion in that relationship? Not only did she not put her hand up, she looked away from me. When people attend Turning Point, like you're going to now, because you got on the show, you've got 2 free tickets to Turning Point. When people attend Turning Point, I'm going to teach you this technology called cold reading. Cold reading is the ability to read somebody else's body language and know what they're thinking. So when my future wife didn't put her hand up when she was single, it let me know that she had a relationship. But when she looked away, it let me know that she wasn't happy because she didn't want more passion in it. So I said, game on. And I proceeded to, without her knowing it or the rest of the audience knowing it, I proceeded to hypnotize her to walk up to me and ask me out on a date, which she did. And 17 years later, I'm still hypnotized.
Oh my gosh.
So, nice anecdote. Tell me, what's your question for me today?
So my question comes with a little bit of a backstory of me. I suffered a little over a year ago a traumatic brain injury.
What happened?
At work. So I'm a registered behavior technician. I work one-on-one with people who have severe autism. A lot of them nonverbal, a lot of them young adult, high school, college age. And one of them, in the midst of having a behavior, bashed my head in 6 times. And so it was a difficult recovery, and my body has been healing, and we've been working a lot on getting myself to a point where I have that time and I'm not so focused on allowing myself to heal anymore. That my question for you is, what would be a starting point to start building myself financially and personally, just in terms of setting myself up for success? I graduated college, went right into working, and then I got into this accident. And I'm also part-time a musician, and my goal would be to have that become a full-time business. But it's a blank slate. It's perfectly clean. I'm just starting. So
Good. Tell me the story behind your shirt. It says Hurt Road. That's all that I can read. What else does it say?
So it's actually a merch shirt. It's from a musician, Mark Lee, from a band called Third Day. So this is
What's the band called?
Third Day.
Okay.
And the
And
story
what's the meaning? What's the story behind Hurt Road?
Yeah, he got hit by a car, and he had been set to be a professional athlete. And when he was hit by a car, he decided to play guitar because that was what he did during his recovery and his body healing. And it turned into a successful band and a music career. And so he has a song called Hurt Road.
Got it. Did you notice, like everybody else did, how much your face lit up when you were telling that story?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not a good thing, actually. And I'll tell you why that's not a good thing. What we focus on expands, and you didn't have an accident. So I want to be clear about that. You didn't have an accident. You were in a profession that was high risk, and you were dealing with people that may not have been cognizant, as I'm sure the person that hurt you wasn't, may not have been cognizant on what they were doing. But that was the profession you entered. That was the profession you entered. So you put yourself in harm's way. And by being in harm's way, you got harmed, unfortunately. So your question to me was, what do I do with that? The fact that you're wearing that shirt that says Hurt Road, I get that part. It's, it's an inspiration to you that somebody else also was injured and was able to take that injury and turn it into something good. And especially because the person that got injured is somebody that you can identify with. You said, I'd like to be a musician. So many reasons you say, yes, I can identify with this person. I can identify with this song even because it's kind of my story. I get it. Have you heard a new song by Dax and Darius Rucker called What It's Like to Be a Man?
No.
You should check out the song. It's a great song. And it's a song that talks about what it's like to be a man and the responsibilities that a man has to his spouse and his children and the people around him. And frankly, it's a song about that it's hard to be a man. That, it's if we're the provider in the household, nobody wants to hear an excuse. They just want to know, are they eating or not? And they want to know, is the man of the household taking care of the stuff he's got to take care of? And there's not a whole lot of people that men can complain to, because if we complain, they just say, shut up, quit complaining, and do your job. And while it's a song, every time I hear it, I cry, because it's true. And again, things happen to all of us. I was beat over the head with a broomstick at one point. It caused major challenge for me. There was a period of time where I had massive headaches on a regular basis, couldn't get rid of the headaches. And the advice that I'm going to give you, like I said, you called into the show. I can see you're open-minded. My advice, Catherine, is do not let what happened to you become your identity.
Right.
And part of the challenge is you want the hero story. I get that, but you're not there yet. So wearing that shirt and that story right now is making you stay on hurt road. That's what it's doing. And so what I'd recommend is that you don't let people know about what happened to you. At the very least, that you say, hey, stuff happened. My whole life changed. I'm reinventing myself. How do I reinvent myself?
Yes.
I have a team that does my social media for me. They handle things, they promote the show and more. And one day they put out a post, and the post said, please tell us about your biggest relationship emotional hurt. What hurt you the most? My wife saw the post and she called me up and she said, did you see this post? I said, I did. What do you think? She said, I don't think that you posted this. I said, what do you mean? She said, you don't talk about the negative stuff. You say, so what, now what? Let's move on. And I would agree, that is all that all of us can do. Whether we're a man or a woman, whether we got beat over the head by people trying to rob a store that I happen to be in, or whether we got assaulted by somebody we were trying to care for, like your case. So what, now what? It doesn't really matter. You're a young woman. What are you, early 20s?
Yeah, 25.
How old are you? Yeah. So you're a young woman. You've got a whole lifetime ahead of you. And the challenge is, yes, what happened to you is unfortunate, yet you still got to deal with it. So what I'd recommend you do is do your very best not to talk about this anymore. Do your very best. I mean, if somebody asks, say, yeah, but it's not a big deal. I survived. I have a program we do called Inner Circle. And we've had over 1,000 people come through that program in the last 20 years. One of the people that came through the program, when I met him, because we interview everybody before we let them join the program, even though it's $70,000, they could have the money, they could have the time, they could have the desire. Because it's an intimate group of people, I want to make sure that everybody is also contributing and also growing. And so when he was in his interview, he talked about the story he told was a story about him being so low that he put a 9mm gun in his mouth and was ready to pull the trigger. And he was very dramatic in the telling of the story. And you could almost see him almost glimmering when he was telling this horrible, horrible story about him almost blowing his own head off. And the irony of it all is that I watched this guy every time somebody would say, hey, tell me about yourself. He'd go back to this origination story of the gun in his mouth. He paid me a lot of money to help him have a better life. And I told him, quit telling that damn story. Do not tell that story anymore. Say, yeah, once I was suicidal, then get over it. Don't tell me about the metal on the gun or the color of the bullets or all those details that I don't need to know and you don't need to remember. And that's what I'm going to tell you. It's time for you to tell a new story. One of my favorite artists of all time is a guy named Kenny Loggins. And Kenny Loggins, the musician, has a song, and the lyrics of the song is, I don't want my life to be a tragedy. I want it to be a love story. And that's what I want for me. I want my life to be a love story. I want my life to be a story of battling all the odds and coming out triumphant on the other side. So while it sounds like the musician that whose shirt you wear has got the triumph story, you don't yet. And because you don't have that story yet, I would refrain from talking about the other story in the attack. So let's pretend you didn't tell me that. and ask me a question that has to do with you stepping into the excellence that is Catherine.
Just as a musician and starting fresh, what is your advice for someone who's just starting out and building their brand and setting themselves up?
I love it. Much better question. And you're going to get a much better echo from the world by asking that question versus saying the question, I'm an artist starting out. I have this, brain injury, pretty severe brain injury. Nobody cares. But like your peer, and I'm going to call them a peer because that's what they are to you at this point if you're a musician. Like your peer, though, they decided to write about it. They decided to write the victory story. Because if they had just written the story that, I got into a bad car accident, almost died, the end, people wouldn't listen to the song. They'd slit their wrists.
Yeah.
And now that's where you are, is I want to know what the victory is. So here's my advice. A lot of people, artists in particular, are afraid to show their art to the world because we're afraid we'll be rejected. We're afraid people won't like what we do. And the only way that we can be sure they won't like what we do is to do it. We can always have, this little belief that they'd like it if we never actually do it. If we don't write the book, if we don't create the song, if we don't get on the stage, then we don't have to face reality.
Yeah.
This is a brand new broadcast. And because we're a brand new broadcast, we've got a limited amount of viewers. I gave away $13,500 yesterday, and we still have a limited amount of viewers. I don't know anybody else that's giving away those kinds of cash prizes on a broadcast or a podcast. It's not happening. I also know, though, that that's not enough. We've got to get back every single day. We got to do what we do. We've got to swing the bat for the fence, and we've got to, figure out a way to make sure that the world knows that we are a winner. We are victorious. For you, have you written some music?
I have, yes.
What kind of songs do you like to write?
Christian contemporary music.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
One of my favorite artists is an artist, Christian contemporary artist, and he's written a whole lot of music. One of the songs that he wrote is if I had $1 million for every time they said God wouldn't come, I'd be a millionaire. Ever heard that song?
No.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you the name of the artist. I want you to go do some research because as a Christian artist, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You've got a built-in audience.
Yep.
But just like Taryn Wells, I will tell you the name of the artist. Just like Taryn Wells,
Yep.
you've got to still be an artist. You've still got to be exceptional. Yes. Do you play a musical instrument?
I do. I play over 13.
Lovely. And do you sing?
I do.
Do you? Can you sing me a little bit of one of your original songs?
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. You've been high on the mountain, or stuck in the valley. Oh, you've been through matters. It could change somebody's life. Tell your story and share his glory. Your journey's far from ending. It could be someone's beginning. It's your testimony.
Beautiful. Bravo. Bravo. How many professional gigs have you done?
Hundreds.
Awesome. So you're already a professional musician. It is time for you to stay focused on that. It is time for you to do whatever you need to do to eat chickens while you're hunting elephants. Yeah, take on a safe job where you won't get beat up. Except remember, when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? What do you say? I'm a musician. That's what I do for a living. Even if that's not what's putting bread on your table today, that's what you tell them. Why? Because you never know whether it's a broadcast on a digital platform like this one, or whether it's you sitting in a coffee shop and you pick up your guitar and you start to play and somebody at another table looks over and says, wow, you're really good. Here's my card. Your break is going to come through putting out whatever you put out and then put out something slightly better the next time. I am going to reward you right now. Because of time constraints, I'm not going to put any more callers on the air today. I'm simply going to tell you that today is the day you became a full-time musician. It is what you do. As much as I like the shirt, I don't want you to wear that shirt anymore. I want you to wear shirts. If you're a Christian artist, wear shirts that praise God, wear shirts that give him the glory. And I promise you, what we focus on expands. We end up where we're pointed. And now that you're pointing in a new direction, I want to reward you. And I'm going to give you, without anybody else voting today, I'm going to give you 10 ounces of pure silver just for being who you are, as a reward for you being bold, because boldness is rewarded. When I asked you to sing a song, I didn't see your deer in headlights look. You didn't do that. You just said, okay, and you sang your song. Catherine, it is time for the world to hear your voice. It is time for the world to hear your song. And it is time for the world to know that this is who you are. You're not a nurse. You're not a waitress. You're not any of those things. No matter what you have to do to put food on the table for the day, you are a world-class Emmy-winning musician. That's who you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are totally loved. Be great. They're going to take down your data to be sure that we know who won the silver for the day. God bless. Hey, I'm Marshall Sylver. What a great show today. My thanks to our guests, both Catherine that was just on with me. Also, of course, big time thanks to Mike Howard with Jetsetters. And thanks to you for being with me. I'm Marshall Sylver, back same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. with, oh, by the way, nobody won the secret word today because we only had one person to guess on it. I talked about, I'm going to drip on you. I talked about that it's cold in here. And the secret word of the day for today is how does it drip on people when it's cold? It drips on people because of something called condensation. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, you're totally loved. Dominic, great to hear from you as always. Thanks for being such a fan of the show. John and everybody else that's here, I look forward to chatting with you tomorrow. Have an awesome day and God bless. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.